The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame, with exciting Vol sports prints now available.
You are watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you joining us today as we break down a Tennessee win, 27-24. Everyone thought it was going to be the blown lead syndrome again, but it didn't quite go the way of the first three blown leads this year. They actually hung on at the end, made a play. We'll break down the game. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff, including your Twitter questions. Go ahead and tweet us now. Let's get into this thing. First segment of the show, brought to you by Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. Call Phil immediately. Immediately. If you want to see this beautiful, newly listed mountain property in Wares Valley, more than an acre of land, lots of natural light in the home, and it's priced to move quickly, $239,900. That's a tremendous price. Beautiful home there in Wares Valley, acre of land around it. Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. You can learn more at Phil Cobble Homes, or you can just call him and his team at 675-7000. All right, let me introduce my team right here, and you can't call them. I'm not giving their numbers out. Bob Hodge, Will Overstreet, VFL defensive lineman. Jimmy Himes, Jacob Gillum, VFL offensive lineman. What did I say? Jacob Gillum? I do this every week. I've got too many VFLs here. I just throw out different names. All right, Travis Henry, let me start with you. Let's see here. Tennessee hangs on with Malik Foreman's forced fumble, but a lot of negativity.
I woke up this morning and thought they lost. And people, I think this team, in my opinion, is way too early to start worrying about style points. They won. They beat an SEC team. Yes, they had a bad patch that almost cost them the game. Be happy they won. Walking out of the stadium, I was happy they won. I'm not going to say the minority, but there was a lot of people who weren't happy that they won the way they did.
I love your use of style points, because I'm going to use that later in the segment, and you didn't know that. Your thoughts, Will Overstreet, if that is your name.
Yeah, if that is my name. I mean, I agree. I understand how the fans feel in these kinds of games, but these happen to every team. I mean, Alabama fans probably, when they played Tennessee a couple weeks ago, they were probably sitting there going, why haven't we blown them out? We're going to lose another game. Right. Anytime a team plays close to another team that your fan base should think you should blow off, they're always going to be angry coming out of that. And it always has this weird impression of you almost or you should have lost the game, but you didn't. So we're angry as if you lost the game.
How happy were Florida's fans last night walking out of the stadium?
Yeah,
9-7.
There was a lot of, you got lucky that they fumbled at the end. Okay, well, can you turn that around and say that South Carolina got lucky because Kamara fumbled inside his own 10 and Josh Malone dropped the prettiest pass Josh Dobbs has ever thrown? I mean, the luck thing is just part of it. Jimmy, your thoughts on what the reaction from everyone is to that game? You did a radio show this morning on 990 and then 991. What's the take?
I think Tennessee's gotten to the point where they don't have to play that well and they win, and that's something you haven't been able to say in recent years. There were some fans frustrated by a number of things, and look, there's some areas where Tennessee needs to improve, and maybe Kyler Kerberson said it best. We won the game, didn't play our best, but we can improve on this, this, and this. And I think that's where Tennessee goes from here. I was surprised a little bit at some of the negativity, and I think something must have happened after the game that caused Butch to be a little concerned about the way Tennessee won. But look, it's a win. You're going to have games like that. The good thing is you're able to find a way to win. Look, Tennessee's been losing those kind of games in the fourth quarter this year, right? Well, they found a way to get this one. So,
Sterling Hinton, your take. Former ball offensive lineman David Ligon. My good friend David Ligon. I've never walked like this. This is great. It's like a game show. David Ligon. There we go.
I think a lot.
I was out of the pocket right there.
Yeah, that's right. Scrambling. Right. I think a lot of the negativity was just the worry of we're about to go through the same thing again. Double-digit lead, we're going to give this up and lose it in the second half. So honestly, I think if the game was close in the first half, close in the second half through the entire game, and Tennessee pulls one out, I don't think people are as upset. They're happy that they win the game at that point.
Something about that 17 points, though. When you go up 17 points to 0, So I think the fans also had that in the back of their head. It makes them remind them probably that Florida won the East yesterday. You have a game like that, they probably get some people thinking about you should have been winning the East, possibly. And I think that's just.
With the other side of that is Florida's also 8-1 now.
Yep.
So the idea that you blew it against Florida, okay, that there's no question that last play where Sutton wasn't on the field and they go 60 yards when 3 of your guys crash into each other like the Keystone Cops, it's pretty bad. But in hindsight, everybody thought that Florida team was going to be bad. That is not a bad Florida team. But I thought we tend to get caught in our own kind of big orange bubble around here. This is the exact same thing that South Carolina did against Texas A&M last week. 35-28 on the road at A&M. A&M, I thought, had better athletes than Carolina, just as Tennessee looks like they've got better athletes. But A&M had to hang on at the end, just as Tennessee did yesterday. So at some point, got to give them a little bit of credit and enjoy a win. This program hasn't even finished 500 in the SEC since 2009, so I wouldn't poo-poo a win at this point. Josh Dobbs said after the game, well, the players kind of took their foot off the pedal. They relaxed a little bit. My question to you is, how the heck are the players thinking that after the 3 losses earlier this year? Shouldn't that be learned a long time ago?
It should have been, but it looked so easy. Those first 2 drives looked so easy, and you're sitting there, Tennessee gets the ball back the 3rd time, and you're thinking, boy, if they score here, this is a rout that I just don't think Carolina can overcome 21 points. And so it wasn't just that they got up 14, it looked easy. Like Carolina could never stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's he misspoke. He shouldn't have said that. Even if that was the truth, you don't say that. After everything that's gone on this year, I don't know. I mean, maybe they did, but that is a concern if that is the case.
Here's something I found out. I didn't know this until this morning, but Josh Dobbs, he had an injury against Alabama, and he's been banged up a little bit. He re-injured his foot against South Carolina. South Carolina did 2 things. They put 8 or 9 in the box, and then Dobbs hurt his foot, so he was a reluctant runner. And when he was running it, he wasn't dynamic like he usually is. That offense at times to me looked like Worley was at quarterback, because the quarterback wasn't much of a threat to run it, or he wasn't effective. And when he's not, that offense is not very productive. They had 17 runs for 17 yards in the second half. But a lot of that was after Dobbs got hurt, and I think that impacted the offense.
I think we'll talk about that a little bit later in the next segment. Consistency at quarterback, I think, is one of the reasons you're not able to close out this game, these games. I think that's one of the issues. Jimmy, you were in the room last night when Butch Jones said we need more positivity. And speaking of his press conference afterwards, we need more positivity. And he kind of he realized what he was saying in mid-sentence, or mid-statement, I believe, and said, "No, look, I love you guys." He wasn't coming down on anybody. Some in the media took it as a slight. Some on the message boards came up, "Oh, you can't question the coaches." I think he has a little bit of rabbit ears. Yeah. And I think people are making a little too much of it at the same time. Your thoughts?
I agree with you. And in our show last night, we replayed some of it because I wanted people to hear it. There'd been a lot of message board chatter about getting on his case, so I wanted the people to hear it and comment on it. And I communicated with Butch after the game, and he said that he kind of regretted doing it, that it was an emotional game. He was trying to protect his players. I think he must have heard something from the stands that he didn't agree with. And I think that's probably what prompted it, because it wasn't the question. It was an easy question. It wasn't anything that would say, boy, y'all were lucky. No, it wasn't like that at all. I just think he had that on his mind, because I think he felt after the game that the win wasn't as appreciated as he thought it should have been.
I think he's going to have to get used to that. That's the SEC, and at this level, you can win, and people are still going to have questions and complaints. That's just par for the course in college football these days. Yeah.
But I would think for somebody that's just, cliche after cliche after cliche when he speaks, and it is true. It is 100% true. You're keeping everything close to the vest. You're not giving anything away. That what the media says, what anybody else says, wouldn't bother you. But that's surprising to me.
Well, at the same time, I don't think we in the media should. We get our say on shows. We write what we write. Unless you're actually saying, no, he's making me write something positive. Unless you're actually taking his orders, then what do you care what he says? At some point, if Butch Jones is bad, Go try Nick Saban. Go get yelled at by Nick Saban or Dabo Swinney or Mike Gundy. Go get a snort and a "We're on to North Texas" from Bill Belichick. That's
Butch is 40.
yeah. He's a man. He's 40. Bob mentioned earlier style points. I want to put up something just from around the SEC and around the nation yesterday. This is why, if you're Tennessee fans, just enjoy this one. Florida squeaks by Vanderbilt 9-7. If you're Ole Miss, you're thinking, well, we got the inside track to the West. And somehow you give up 53 points in overtime to Arkansas, 45 in regulation. Auburn goes to Texas A&M or beats Texas A&M, upsets them. Michigan State was undefeated. They lost to a Nebraska team that the AD had to come out and give a vote of confidence to his coach in the first year there. Navy blows out the genius at Memphis that everybody's in love with. Alabama upsets LSU, but look, you just can't tell week to week. Leonard Fournette had nothing against Alabama. He rushed for a third of what Jalen Hurd did. So, I mean, every individual Saturday, come on back, every individual Saturday is its own season. I mean, Lou Holtz said that, and I think it's true. So the idea that, well, Tennessee destroyed Kentucky, so they're just going to rout everybody from here on out, that's not the way those games play out. I mean, that Vandy, Florida game is the perfect example. I just think you nailed it with your first statement. Too early to be worrying about style points. Worry about style points next year, because you should be good next year. Then you can worry about style points. All right, when we come back, what will it take for Tennessee to close out games, and what to do about Tennessee's troubled turf, bad grass stories? Come on back, and not just from Chuck. Come on back on the Sports Source.